I'm at Axis Communications with Atul. Atul, I have to tell you, by the way, you have the shiniest shoes in this show.
Oh, thank you very much.
Look at these shoes, they're amazing. But much more importantly, tell me about Axis Communications and why you're here. Why is this show so important for you?
Okay. So Axis Communications, we're a global company, headquartered in Sweden, but we've been the technology leader in IP video surveillance for 2 decades. We were the first company in the world to manufacture an IP camera back in 1996.
Wow.
But innovations and a value-based culture have been at the heart of Axis since its inception 30 years ago. And really that's at the heart of Axis, and the founding vision was to make networks smarter by enabling more and more hardware to be connected simply and economically to IP networks.
And in terms of innovation, obviously there was that initial jump. How has it progressed over the years? Has it accelerated, or is the pace of change slowing down?
What we've seen is over those 20 years has been a big transition from analog to IP video surveillance. But what we're seeing now in terms of future trends is the Internet of Things, and also other trends such as cloud, mobile and data, and they're really influencing what our customers expect and demand for us in the next few years.
Well, do you know, certainly from a consumer point of view, we hear a great deal about the Internet of Things. For you, how would you describe that, encapsulate that?
It's basically connecting any type of hardware device to a network, either wired or wireless, and being able to exchange data with disparate devices. If you think of Amazon Echo, Alexa, that's just one example. It's using speech recognition to trigger other things. So.
I've only just met Alexa. She's quite something, isn't she? So do you want to talk us around your stand a bit? Show us a few things that you're keen to point out.
I guess if we start with the Internet of Things and IoT audio and radar, which we're announcing on the show this year. So if we walk over to the audio section, so what we have is our first ceiling speaker and a cabinet speaker. And effectively, if you walk through any shopping centre or an airport, or if you walk in a petrol station, and just have a look how many speakers are installed, but they're predominantly analog technology. And the benefits of IoT audio technology is that it allows you to full integration across your business infrastructure, so it removes the need for siloed systems.
Okay, so what does that mean for me as a business owner?
Let's give you an example. So say I'm a retail store, I have a camera looking at queue management, and when the queue reaches a certain threshold, it automatically triggers a pre-audio clip on the speaker to say, please open another checkout, with no user intervention.
How clever.
And that's just an example of IoT audio. And I think what Axis are seeing is similar opportunities and challenges as we saw back in 1996 in terms of transitioning a proprietary analog market to go digital and IP.
Okay, what else have you got that's sexy?
So, I'm not sure if it's sexy, but we have a radar. It's the first IP radar on the market. So this is the product, the Axis D2050. It offers similar reliability to thermal camera technology, which means in practice that it reduces false alarms and it gives you reliable detection in all types of weather conditions. But the founding vision was to make things simple and affordable, and it's at a cost that makes the technology affordable to a much wider array of customers.
I mean, I have to say, just looking at it, you wouldn't know that's a radar.
I mean, Axis have always been very sleek in the design of products as well. It's very much inbred in the DNA of the company.
And so you're saying that reduces your risk of false alarms, does it?
Yes, because a radar is not impacted by snow, rain, changes in light, and same with thermal camera technology. Whereas with video, it is influenced by the environment a lot more in terms of maybe generating false alarms.
And is that something that businesses are requesting? They want fewer false alarms. They need obviously a system that's reliable, but they don't want to get penalised for having all these false alarms.
That's a very good point, because if you have a monitoring station monitoring your alarms and you're paying for all the alarm connections that come in, by reducing the false alarms, it makes sure the operators are only actively working with real alarms, and I think that improves the security of a site or a perimeter.
How important is it for you to gain the trust of a company? Because I get the sense that this is less now about product and more about a solution, more about that trust being implicit, and then they can rely on you for a one-stop shop. Would that be a good summation?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Axis, we put high value on trust, responsiveness and transparency, which is very important in the modern world in terms of cybersecurity. You want a brand that you can trust. But actually, Axis is a value-driven company. So if I take you over to our wall focusing on corporate social responsibility.
And this is CSR, or corporate social responsibility, is increasingly important, and rightly so, in the marketplace, isn't it? You've got some nice nice figures, so talk me through this.
So, as I said, Axis release a corporate social responsibility report every year. So we're very transparent in terms of reducing the impact on the environment and reducing our carbon footprint. Now, Axis are a Swedish company, and Sweden, like other Nordic countries, they have a culture of looking after the environment. In fact, the Nordic countries cluster at the top of virtually every global league table in terms of sustainable living, business ethics, social health. A really interesting statistic, I was amazed by this, in Sweden, less than 1% of household waste goes to landfill. In fact, they're importing rubbish from other countries to keep the recycling plants going.
That's extraordinary.
The reason for kind of talking about that is there's an inbred belief in the company because it's the way people live. Therefore, as a Swedish business, it's a natural extension that as a business you take it seriously.
I also think you're going to see benefits in terms of for the business itself, because I think consumers are becoming more environmentally savvy. I know certainly from a general consumer, I certainly make purchases according to their environmental footprint, very much more so than I've ever done before. And I used to own a business and we did the same.
Yeah, and I think it's very important. And if you look at some of the things that we're doing, I think 85% of our cameras and encoders are now PVC free.
And what's important about that?
Basically, PVC is the most toxic plastic in terms of harm to the health and the environment. It's known as the poison plastic. So if you're an ethical company promoting your video surveillance cameras into healthcare or education, we have an obligation to reduce the use of PVC within those products because people use it because it's very malleable, easy to produce, but really as an ethical company, we need to make a stand.
Yes, absolutely. And my concern is with those products, and as they degrade, it gets into the rivers, into the water stream, and then the health effects from that. So that's good. And then in terms of, obviously, your carbon footprint, you're planting trees as well.
Yes, we planted 16,000 trees in Malawi to offset our carbon footprint. So, we're always looking at ways to reduce our carbon footprint. And again, we're very transparent. We have a report every year which shows everything that Axis does.
So what would a good show look like for you over the next few days?
I think, David, actually, for me, the show is about getting feedback. Speaking to customers and partners, understanding what they like, what we can improve on, and also learning from them because it influences what we do, what we'll produce in the future. So for me, it's very much just getting two-way feedback with our customers and partners in a concentrated environment.
Is that right? So it really is a process where you listen to the customers. Do you gain a lot of insight from shows like this?
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, when we develop products, we need to understand what it is the market requires and what customers are demanding. And sometimes, as any vendor, you may have a prescribed idea of what you think is right, but actually, unless you talk to a customer in terms of the experience that they have, because I think with technology, what we're finding ultimately, it's about the value it creates to solve a target group's needs, and it's about improving the user experience. And we've got one really good example of that, which I can show you in terms of harmonizing cloud and mobile. Perhaps if we walk over to our access control area.
Where's that?
Yeah.
Right.
On the other side.
You better lead the way.
Okay.
So, I see. So we look at. So this is all about the integrated solution, yeah?
We have a smartphone.
Now this is the bit that I find very sexy.
Okay, so when Apple released their iPhone in 2007, the mobile phone market was booming.
Yes.
It was a race to the top in terms of more buttons, more features. So what did they do? Just give you one button and said, you choose the apps, you choose the things you want to subscribe to. It's about simplicity. And I think even as consumers, we're living in a world where cloud and mobile harmonize together. So what we're announcing at IFSEC this year is a technology integration between the A10001 network door controller and HID Global's mobile access, which is the first IP end-to-end solution for mobile credentials. Now, what does that actually mean?
What does this mean in real life? You know, to a poor blonde man like myself, what does it mean?
What is the value of it? So what we find is that you want to simplify the enrollment of new users for an access control system,
yes,
and the ongoing maintenance. Now, how does that improve the user experience?
Yeah.
Well, if you're an employee, you're much more likely to forget your printed card at home than you are your smartphone.
That's very true, because you need to be on Twitter and Facebook and everything.
And that should open, as you can see.
Now, what happens though? So essentially, there's an app in there, is there?
Yeah, so basically we send a mobile credential to your mobile phone, and that is basically your access control card.
So very much like online banking is now doing, sending you user codes that you use it one time only and then are destroyed. Is that, it works on a similar principle?
Similar principle, absolutely, David, yeah.
What happens if someone loses their phone?
That's a very good point, but if you lose your phone, you tend to go in panic mode anyway, not just because of the access control. So
Yes.
I think they have higher concerns sometimes than the access control card when you lose your phone.
From a security point of view, is that not a concern? You know, if someone maybe, you know, I'm not saying they would, but they might go out for an evening, have a couple of drinks and leave their phone on the bus.
Yeah.
What do you do then as an organisation?
Very good point. Because the system is basically cloud-based, someone remotely, even from home, could be logging into the system and deactivating that user account.
So again, that gives you great malleability, that you can make sure you can monitor who's using your technology and at the same time prevent people from using it. So for example, I suppose a disgruntled employee or someone who maybe was made redundant.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's part of the maintenance of the system. If you can make it more simple, it reduces costs for an organisation and it makes it more secure.
Wow. And so in terms of this particular show, this seems very different for you. You're, again, talking a very holistic message here. And I suppose you want people to come and talk to you so you can understand their problems and try and find an effective solution.
Absolutely. So we took a conscious decision to redesign the stand, make it less product-centric and focus more on the value of technology, as this was just one example.
Very well said, Atul. Thank you very much indeed. I wish you a great deal of success over the next few days and make sure you wear shiny shoes tomorrow.
All right, thank you very much, David.